Welcome to the WriteNow Writers Group. Today is meeting 13 as I've invited other members from the writing community to join me, and we will chat about all things writing, maybe procrastinate a little bit, and we will also be getting in some writing sprints. So kick back, relax, and enjoy the conversation. And if you've joined us before, you know how it goes. Feel free to drop a comment, join in on the conversation, because we want to hear it from you. This is a community discussion. So definitely hop in. And by the way, I'm Kaufman. Welcome to the Right Now community. I'm on a mission to help the unpublished writers of the world with the lifestyle, process, and mindset that it takes to be an author. So thank you for coming and joining us, because we're starting right now. All right, my friends. So let me bring everyone up into the chat. Let me bring everyone up. Welcome, my friends. Thank you all for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
No problem.
I know we had a new member today, BR, but I know his video has been messing with him a little bit, so he might be off and on. It sounds like till he gets it fixed. Awesome. And for everyone who doesn't know you guys, you want to just give a quick little intro for any of our new members joining us today.
Yeah, no, I'll go ahead and start. So everyone calls me Chat Soul, which I have just thoroughly embraced at this point. And I'm apparently known for my for how much I write in a writing sprint. Right now, I'm still working on some fan fiction for One Piece. And I have a new book I have a new story that I'm kind of playing around with. Mm-hmm. But so far it's mainly fan fiction.
Yep. We've definitely gone through a number of your fan fiction stories in past critique shows before. You're a really good writer, especially with action. I remember when you were talking about your action sequences, I'm like, they were really engaging.
I'm in another writers group, and last night I actually read an action scene from the Yonko's Apprentice series that I've been writing, and they seriously could not get over how well I wrote that moment. And one of them is actually really familiar with that exact scene in One Piece. And it actually took her a minute to realize it was an alternative timeline. So she recognized what was going on, but she was also thrown off a little bit, but in a good way, because of the differences. And well, once I explained it, she was fine with that. But yeah, no, they commented before.
Who doesn't love alternative timelines? Time travel. I want to write a time travel story so badly. It's okay. I have my bucket list, and I feel like I have the bucket list of all the stories I want to write. Choose Your Own Adventure has always been near the top, so that I'm super stoked on. But we're not going to do an ad now. So Crazy, I'll pass it off to you.
Hello, Crazy Root Beer is here, and lately I've been working on a sequel to the Shadow Warriors. One of the heroes is being sneaky without anybody noticing, because they have joined a different, I guess you could say a different group of members without anybody else realizing it, without his own dad realizing it. And his dad had even, in a way, wanted him to do something, and he was challenging him to defy him. He wants him to defy him, and he has no idea why. And there should be more ninjas.
I agree. I always agree on more ninjas. Ninjas and pirates. What better two clans to face off against?
Yes. And the book series, I keep forgetting to say it, but the book series I'm writing is called Heavenly Warriors.
Ooh, excellent. Well, Crazy, thank you so much for sharing. ML, I'll throw it down to you.
Okay, my name is ML Claxon, and hopefully this evening I will get back into my first draft of the third novella in the Changeling Fates series that I'm working on. The first two novellas are already published on Kindle. And hopefully I can get some words. I've been needing to finish the third novella, but just have not been motivated as of the last week or so. So hopefully tonight I can get some words down on the computer.
Well, ML, I think you need to draw some motivation from Chat Soul over here.
Yeah.
Like how many words can we get? Maybe we'll just do a writing sprint like contest, like who can get the most words, or maybe the goal is just to beat Chat Soul. Maybe that's like what the goal is. You'll get prize.
If she thought somebody was trying to beat her, there would be flames coming off her keyboard. Or off his keyboard. Sorry, Saul, off your keyboard.
Yeah, I got to admit, I've actually typed fast enough before my keyboard actually stopped working for a couple of minutes.
And there is a reason that aptly named Chat Soul, and that wasn't coming by me. That's coming up by the community too. So clearly, that's the vibe. ML, I'm glad to have you again with us this week. And BR, I'm so happy to have you joining us this week. It's always so exciting to have new members join us. I'm really happy that you found the WriteNow community. You know, I'm clearly doing craziness every day, 270 streams and counting. But I'll let you do a little intro about yourself. Who you are, what do you write?
Well, my name is actually Bobby. I just put BR because it's easier to remember. Mm-hmm. So you can call me either one, or even Speedy if you want to. There's a story behind that one. But
Speedy. Ooh, that's when you give a nickname, I feel like then you want to know what it means.
See it?
Oh, it's blurred. You can barely see it. Describe it to us.
Did you? Shoot. Hello?
What was it? What was that?
I said, did you all see my chair?
Yes. We saw the chair, but it's a little blurry.
Well, yeah, I've got it on blur because of the curtain background.
Yeah, no worries.
So I am a murder mystery writer.
Ooh, we love murder mysteries. Let me tell you, BR, of all the stories that I do on the critique show, so every other Saturday now, I do live readings and critiques of stories. The number one story that always keeps people reading the longest and watching is always murder, thriller, horror, mystery. People love that genre the most for some reason. Maybe it's because I need to know who killed, who's the killer.
Like you want to know who done this.
Yep.
Not that it matters, but I'm 30. Let's see. I'm trying to think of what else I could share real quick.
Totally all good. I really want to know more about Speedy. I think the nickname Speedy is interesting.
So I showed you the wheelchair. You said it was blurry, but you can see the chair. Mm-hmm. I am a paraplegic from birth.
Wow. Okay.
And I am a, pun intended, speed demon. And so somebody gave me that nickname one time, and it stuck. And now just about everybody I know calls me Speedy or Bobby or BR.
Well, what I really like Speedy. I think Speedy is cool, but I'm actually totally fine either way. It's interesting with nicknames. I've been trying to go with Kaufman. I get like 50-50. Some people go Jared, some go Kaufman, but then I get these cool nicknames from the community. So now I'm currently Kaufman the Writinator until somebody else comes up with a cool nickname. I think that's how it goes. But Speedy, definitely thank you so much for joining us today. Let me hop into the chat and let's welcome everyone. So I know we're super active over here. Courtney, glad to have you in here. Welcome, my friend. And looks like we're in here as well.
Just saying.
Yeah, I know you got the first chatter award, which was excellent. Beautiful. I'm always so bad about being late. No, I am exactly on time when I mean to. There you go. That's going to be my quote of the day. And we also have Marta. Hello. And the rest of us are here. Megan, glad to have you. Tiara, welcome. Lynn, what's up, my friend? Welcome back. and Engineer. Glad to have you. Cough, I'm the only Twitch viewer. There's no conversation for me. Engineer, just because you're on Twitch doesn't mean that you cannot be involved in the conversation. Hence why I really try to alternate, especially on our Wednesday groups, regardless of what platform you're on. And so everyone knows, regardless of what platform. So I stream to multiple platforms. And while YouTube is the best engaging experience because just of the YouTube platform, even if you're on Twitch or Facebook, you're still welcome. So you're still welcome regardless of the platform, but YouTube generally does tend to have the best engagement because it's just the way it's designed. And that's where the most growth of it is. But if you really want to chat with other writers, we just launched the Discord channel. And it's pretty active. I've never really used Discord myself personally. And this is one of those other moments where I probably should have been prepared with the invite link. But I will drop it. I'll drop it shortly. But I'm glad to have all you guys here. And we got an active chat. But it looks like they're having a very, very, very intense conversation about which Harry Potter house are you?
Slytherin all the way.
Slytherin? Oof. All right. Okay. Slytherin. Okay. What about you guys?
Slytherin.
Slytherin's rule.
Are all three of you guys Slytherin? All three. Speedy, what are you?
What? Do what now?
What do you are you familiar with Harry Potter?
Yes.
Do you know which of the 4 houses you are?
I've never actually I've started to read the books before.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm adopted, which is beside the point.
Mm-hmm.
I was living with somebody at the time who didn't believe in, letting a child read that stuff because it was,
Okay.
Satanistic or whatever.
I remember that, especially when the books were coming out. I remember that.
Yes. So I didn't really get to read that far into it to find out, the houses or anything. So I really can't answer that.
Totally understandable. Well, definitely recommend checking out the books. The books are very well written. I know we definitely have our share of Harry Potter fans in the community. I know, let's see, what am I? I would say, I'm Ravenclaw all the way. When you think about the 4 houses, so for anybody who's not as familiar with Harry Potter, because it's been a couple years, it's like Game of Thrones. It's been a couple years. So it starts falling out of the mainstream unless new stuff comes out. Granted, the Harry Potter reboot series is coming out next year. So there's that. But I know we definitely have some love for the franchise here in the chat. Jessica, welcome to the stream. Megan, you're like, my mom almost named me Paige. There's a character in Central Park from creator of Bob's Burgers named Paige, who was a writer-journalist. Bob's Burgers is actually a good show. Bob's Burgers is definitely a good show.
Yes.
So it makes your secret identity pen name would be Paige Penrose. Tell me that's not a great author name. Paige Penrose. That's a great author name, by the way.
I like it.
Courtney, I like that you hopped all the way over to Twitch just so to help out Engineer. You guys cracked me up. I love you guys. And Miss Holly Davis, glad to have you here. A Hufflepuff as well. So it looks like we are having some great conversations. Mary, welcome. Glad to have you guys in the chat. The more chatting there is, the more I have to keep up. So as I think about writing, and as I think about like what's been on my mind this week, do you guys feel like you've been able to make a lot of progress with your like main stories just over the past couple weeks? Or do you feel like you've been getting like distracted? Because I've really been thinking about like procrastination and have I been procrastinating writing, or am I just too busy?
Distracted.
I know I've been procrastinating.
Okay. All right. That's good. I was like, I don't know if maybe I just spend too much time like getting stuck in the details on certain things because like I know I have to make progress with Scarecrow.
Mine's a mixture.
I have most definitely not been getting words on down, so that's for personal reasons. But
yeah, and I think it's that I think if we're at a point in life, and here, sorry, I just wanted to drop the Discord real quick. Discord. Right now, Discord. No, Discord. Kaufman never gets distracted. Trust me. All right. So there we go. And Atomic, glad to have you in here as well, my friend. So where was I? I lost my train of thought. But procrastination. Oh, life. So I think there's times in life where like when we're busy and like life is crazy, like whether we're dealing with like certain like relationship issues, or maybe we're dealing with like being a student takes you have a lot of work, or maybe you're busy with work, or maybe health, or maybe just anything else in between. Like I think there's reasons for us to not have enough time for writing. I think the challenge that I see with a lot of people as I've like been meeting more and more writers this past year is understanding within yourself what's the difference between needing to take a break from writing because life is crazy and then wasting time and procrastinating and making excuses to yourself to not write. And I think it's trying to understand that balance, because there are times in my life where I was way too busy. There were times in my life where I just made excuses. And
it's funny that you say that, because I don't mean to jump in on you. I'm sorry.
No, go for
it. But it's funny that you say that, because with my memoir that I'm doing, which is what I'm working on that too, but I'm working on the murder mystery for the stream anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But with the memoir I'm doing, there's some pretty tough crap in there that I'm putting in. And it's bringing up a lot of stuff that I wasn't expecting. And some stuff that I kind of was. But a memoir is harder to write when you've had a history like mine. And I'll get into that off camera later. But I'm getting through it. I'm trying to get past get through the worst of it so I can get to the better parts of it and get it down and not erase 1,000 words that I've written and rewrite them and erase them and rewrite them and erase them and repeat, which I've done like 5 times already. But tonight I'm actually going to be working on my murder mystery.
Wow, that's really, really cool. That's awesome that even though you have so many things that you've been dealing with life, that you're still able to like persevere and still keep telling your story. And I think that's in itself, like writing ends up becoming a form of expression.
Yes. And I don't know if I emailed you this or not, Jared, but my stupid butt fell last night. So I'm kind of hurting today. So
that's the worst.
Yeah. So if I hop off suddenly, it's probably because I'm in too much pain to deal with it.
Totally understandable. If you have to go suddenly, thank you for the heads up.
Yeah.
I think what's interesting with writing is we end up writing a lot from our experiences to then put into our storytelling. And what I've seen from a lot of writers is that sometimes writers write from, and maybe the creativity is just like, oh, okay, I just want to tell a crazy world about a knight and a dragon. I'm a fantasy writer. Or maybe other writer might be like, you know what, I've dealt with a lot of trauma, or I've dealt with a lot of hardship, and I want to instill that type of like my experience into my writing, so other people, when they read it, they can maybe resonate with my experience, maybe learn from it, or maybe it's just a me of sharing with the world. Do all of you guys have a tendency of putting your own life experiences into your writing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Not much. Not really.
Not much. I feel like I go back and forth depending on where I'm at in life.
But I think what I'm going to end up doing, and I'll let somebody else talk in just a second. I'm sorry. I'll try not to take up talking too much. But I think what I'm going to end up doing is fictionalizing a lot of the stuff, like turning it into a fictional story, but putting some truth into it.
Okay.
But making it seem like it's fictionalized.
Mhm.
Because I'm finding the way that I'm writing it right now, I'm writing it just flat out as a memoir.
Okay.
And I'm finding that hard just to do that. So I think I'm going to have to end up just creating characters and making them go through what I've been through in order to get out what I get out. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I also think it's important to understand like why we're writing. And I think that is one of the most important things, because some people, writers write for different reasons, right? Like I'm writing because I enjoy the process, but I also want to share how I do the writing process with the world. That's why I'm writing right now.
Mhm.
I always write because I just love writing, but it's different for everyone. Some people might write because some people might write as a form of therapy. And I think that can be so powerful. Other people might write because maybe they want to make money. Maybe like, hey, I want to write books and turn that into a career. And I think understanding our motivation is so important. It really is. And sometimes like we almost get lost in the process of like, okay, I'm just writing to write. And maybe I've been writing for years, but then forgetting what is the motivation behind our writing.
Right.
That's actually a good question. I'm going to post that up. Why do you guys write, actually? That's a great question.
For me, it's therapeutic.
Therapeutic?
It gets all the ideas out of here and onto pen and paper or computer. Whichever one I feel like writing on at the time. I kind of go back and forth. I kind of go back and forth.
What about the rest of you guys?
For me, it is both therapeutic and I'm a storyteller. I've been that way since I was little. To not tell a story is like to ask me not to breathe. But I've been making stories. I mean, seriously, ask my mom since I could talk. So telling stories is just natural for me, and not doing it just feels weird. So it's just natural for me to do it. And yeah, no, I noticed this like a month or so ago after I talked to my own therapist. And yeah, no, a lot of my own issues keep coming up in my stories, and it is getting to the point it is weird because it's like I don't even notice I'm putting the issues into it until after I read it. And it's like, oh, so I put this character in this similar position, and this is how they deal with it. Maybe this is how I can deal with it.
So it's almost kind of like that mix. So it sounds like Speedy. So it sounds like Speedy for you, it tends to be a little bit more therapy. And then Soul, you kind of go like a mix depending on where you're at.
I think it's more of not where I'm at. It's more of the type of story I'm writing. So
so you basically like follow the story, follow the character. I believe
pretty much.
I absolutely love that. By the way, I want to welcome John. Welcome, my friend. Glad to have you in here. Let's see. And especially, it looks like we have some great answers. Megan's like, especially when it comes to venting my emotions on stuff, including when dealing with emotionally absent family member. It's a tough one, right? Dealing with any type of complex emotion, and especially if you have dealt with family members, parents, siblings growing up with that, especially if they are toxic. Oof. That is a tough one. That is a very difficult one.
I feel that hard.
Yeah. I myself have been very grateful for my core family growing up. I've had a lot of close friends and relationships in the past where they have not been so lucky, and just hearing other people's stories, what they've gone through and how they persevered is inspirational. It's inspirational to me. Lynn was saying, I don't put life experiences, but do life emotions. I like that actually, because then you're kind of like, and then you're focusing on channeling a core emotion. So at the end of the day, we want our reader to feel an emotional experience.
Yep.
Megan was saying, I channel that energy into poems, including one called Non-Exist that got a daily Deviant spotlight a while back. Megan, that's amazing. That is so cool.
I love that cut, by the way, Kaufman.
Well, I know. I always got catitude. Let's see. And then Marta's like, form of therapy, drawing and writing applies to me. Absolutely. Yes. And so it looks like we're getting a good amount of therapeutic reasons here because it's different and for fun. Actually, I agree. I am probably one of the few writing nerds who actually enjoys every single part of the writing process. And I don't know if that's like, am I the only one here? Am I the only one here who likes every single part of it?
Editing is the devil.
Thank
And I was like,
you.
no editing, no editing. I
You
love the
said
editing
exactly what
process.
I wanted to say. Thank you.
I've actually found the editing process to be okay. It's not the funnest thing, but it's not actually that bad.
I enjoy it, but I think I enjoy it because I treat it like a puzzle. I love games, I love puzzles, and I love fixing a problem. I think a lot of writers didn't get lost in me like, okay, well, I can't do as much of the creativity because then I have to go fix the words and then understanding syntax, understanding the sentence structure, the prose, the pacing, do all the characters make sense? And there's so much minutia into the editing process, which I understand why it puts off a lot of writers. So I would say like ML, you're probably not alone. I would say there's probably like of like the hundreds, thousands maybe of writers I've talked with this year. I would say that editing is probably one of like the least favorite parts by the average writer. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, no, I had
Random
a
fact,
teacher
I love
that
root beer.
What was that?
I
I
said
had a
random fact, I
teacher-
love root beer.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We keep cutting in on each other. I'm sorry.
That totally always happens. That's like when you say like, all right, guys, Jinx, you owe me a soda.
Chat, so go first.
I had a teacher that they had a homework assignment that we had to edit a story we had done the week before. It was very clear to everyone they did not like that. They were the teacher and they did not like the editing and they didn't even try to hide it.
Yeah, and I mean, being an editor, right? So like editing, I do a lot of writing services and book editing is one of them. Being an editor, what I've learned is that, and this is from talking with other editors as well, is that editing at times it can be a highly subjective thing because at the heart, everyone has their own story. There's some things that aren't subjective, like syntax. There's certain types of syntax, sentence structure. There's certain things that are not subjective. That's just the English language. But then when we infuse creativity into it, and you're balancing like, okay, well, is this sentence correct? Or is the sentence supposed to be the way because that's how it should be for a character? I think it's trying to find that balance. And then writers also understanding that like anybody who looks at your work, it's all subjective. Everything's all subjective feedback. And I think it's easy to get lost in that. Let's see. And then let's see. Lynn was saying, and for money. Yes, money is always a good thing. Hopefully we can all make a career out of the thing that we love, right? Isn't that like the one thing that anybody can want in life, to make money doing what you love? Like, and I would like, that would be great. I would love to call that a day. And Mary was saying, I write just because I see something that inspires a story or haiku, then write. I like that. I feel like a lot of times I get inspired. Me personally, I tend to get inspired by like TV shows, movies, and characters. I'm like a huge fantasy nerd. So anything like fantasy related, I will be very generally aware of. But I get and this is what happens with my storytelling. And I don't know if this happens with you guys, but I feel like I watch something or I see a character or I see a story concept as part of a script, like one thing part of a script. And it's either not done well or it's done just okay. Then I tell myself, all right, that story, like maybe it's like a crazy character and they just don't pull it off well enough. I'm like, okay, I can do that better. I can do that character type better. And then it's almost like it gets added to me and just like this like list of character types or list of story types that I'm like, I know that that's a character type that I can work on and try to serve the character experience better in a future story. I don't know if that's just a me thing though.
I can actually kind of relate to that. Like with the fan fictions, I actually have a couple that include minor characters from One Piece that didn't really appear often. Actually, a couple of them didn't even appear until recently, until like the past couple months. And it was actually neat to work with them because it's like this character has had all of 3 seconds of screen time, and I was able to actually take them out and write them into my own story. And maybe take a part of themselves and put it into my own original characters and just kind of work with that.
ML, cute dog.
Yeah. He was wanting some attention, so I had to pick him up. So hopefully he will leave me alone the rest of the time.
Our furry companions distracting us.
Yes.
I know last week we had a cat distracting us.
That's putting it mildly.
I know, putting it mildly. It looks like John was saying he prefers editing. Completely agreed, my friend. Atomic was like, for me, writing is a form of exploration. Regarding my personality type, called to explore. They long for exploration, but not in any conventional way. They find themselves drawn to the realms of theories and ideas, eager to delve beneath the surface of everyday life and investigate the mysteries of the universe. That's going into the personality type thing, which I actually really enjoy that. Do you guys know what your personality types are? Have you guys ever taken the personality type test before?
I don't think so.
I have for school, but I cannot think of what it was off the top of my head.
And I'm like, I can literally never remember what the 4-letter things are.
That's a little past my time.
Oh, John asked a question. He said, question for Kaufman, do you prefer editing your own work or someone else's? It's a great question, actually. I was like, I don't know if I have an answer to that. I think two different reasons. I love editing my work because I know I'm making progress with it, but I love editing other people's work because I get to share in their stories, and I feel like I get to be involved in part of the journey. And then whenever it gets published, I'm like, wow, I feel like I had a piece in that, regardless of the involvement. I was like that, and that to me is so cool. It's so cool, especially when there's so many different types of editors out there. I know Marta was saying I write for myself. My first novel, I wrote for myself only, and it will be published. Courtney's like, I write when I think a story needs to be told, someone needs to tell it, and why can't that someone be me? Absolutely love that. 100% love that. So we have a lot of really good reasons for people wanting to write here in the community. And by the way, WTC brought up another great point for joining the Discord, and you were recommending channels for critique partners, accountability partners, beta readers, ARC readers, newsletter swaps, or cross promo channels. Absolutely, WTC. What I would recommend is in the Discord, throw that in the ideas and feedback channel for me. And what I'll do is I'm still working and developing it. And yeah, it's really just comes down to whatever the community wants. I am happy to do whatever writers need out of it. So that I'm super happy about. So I feel like we've gotten a good start to the conversation, and I feel a little more motivated to write now. Like, I know I actually feel more motivated to write, and I wasn't feeling like writing today. So you guys want to hop into first writing sprint?
How long are we going to go for?
Ooh, that's a good question. So let's see, we're at the 30-minute mark. Let's make the first one super easy for all of our friends here. Let's do a 20-minute sprint. We'll do the first one easy, and then we'll make see how that goes. So we'll write a novel in that time. So we'll.
Yes,
I can write fast, but not that fast.
That is true.
All right, perfect. So what I'm going to do is let me set up this here. I'm going to throw up our writing timer. Awesome. Do you guys all have things that you're plan on working on today while I'm setting this up?
I'm working on my fan fiction, and I am right at the part that I've been looking forward to. So if I look really happy and I start laughing, it is because I got that part done.
Not because you're going crazy. All right, good to know.
Yeah, right.
I will be working on my novella. So
wonderful.
I'm trying to decide if I want to work on my memoir or my murder mystery. I'm kind of thinking about both of them now. Coffin's got my brain spinning.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a challenge when you're working on multiple projects, and especially if you're feeling inspired by either or.
Because one of you all said something that struck me that, like, it's spinning in my head right now, and I'm like trying to think of how to put it down in my memoir without sounding like a jerk.
Yeah, and that's always the challenge. Are you working on the first draft of it still? Is it still the rough draft?
Yes.
This is just always my recommendation. Take it with a grain of salt, grain of sand, salt, whatever. But I'm of the idea that rough drafts, you should try as many things as possible. So like that way you don't get stopped in that way you don't stop yourself in the writing process. Try new things. Try something out. Like if you're not sure if it's going to work, try it. Because the great thing is you can always fix it on later drafts.
Okay,
What I always do with writers is I don't want them to like hit a roadblock and then not write because they're stuck. Because I'm like, the rough draft's like the easy one. That you get to try things and explore and see if it works or not.
So you're saying just get it down and let it be what it's going to be, and do the editing and other crap later.
Yeah, because what happens is if you're stuck with it, instead of stopping yourself from the writing flow, try the thing, whether it's a character, an idea, a scene, or whatever. Just see what comes out, and then as the story progresses, you might actually write something later in the story that will help you determine how that element should or should not be. And that will happen a lot because the further we get into our stories, the more the world of this story comes together generally.
Yeah.
So that's usually my recommendation. Something that's worked well for me. And excellent, working beautiful. And we got some other stuff working, other writers here working as well. So I'd love to hear as well what you guys are working on. Drop it down in the comments. I should end the Q&A. Awesome. All right. So I think I am all set up on my end. Let me cue this up. So excellent. All right. I got this all set up. So what we're going to do now, we're going to hop into a writing sprint, 20 minutes. It'll be super short, super easy. Whether you're brainstorming, writing, or editing, that's all part of the process. Come join us. I'll throw up our music and let's get some writing. Afterwards, we can chat about how the writing's going, or if there's another writing conversation or topic that's on your mind. So let's see how many words we can get. We'll see who can get the most word counts. Our goal, as always, is to beat Chat Soul. So let's see what we can do.
Yes.
And as we hop into it, if you're enjoying the stream, follow and subscribe. We're here every day with the WriteNow community. 275 streams consecutive and counting. So come join us. As you can see, we've got writing sprints, writing groups, critique groups, Discord channels, holiday events, and so much more. So tap that button and help us as we go on the journey to 1,000. All right, my friends. And with the subscribe out of the way, let's get it going. I got 20 minutes on the clock, and it's time to write now. All right. And step away from your keyboards. Step away from your keyboard, from your writing utensil. Hands up. So I'm talking to you. No more words. We're trying to beat you today. Oh, that's right. It'd probably help if I unmuted you guys, right? That'd probably be pretty helpful. Awesome. So how did the writing sprint go for all you guys? I got some words, but I got a little distracted today. I haven't been too effective. So I'm counting myself out of the race.
Well, I got to have dinner first, then got to writing, so I only had 110 words. So, but
Okay.
I got a full stomach.
Well, sometimes we need to be able to have half food. We can't write on an empty stomach now, can we?
No.
Although I'm such a snacker, so I'll always like grab something to snack on while I'm writing. I'm like always guilty of that.
I only got like 573, and part of that is because I got very distracted by hearing my child giggling outside my door.
573, and so here I thought that you were just trying to give everyone a chance to catch up to you.
So close.
You're like, not a good sprint. Not a good sprint.
I've got her beat.
Speedy, Crazy, were you guys able to get any words in that sprint?
Not very much,
Yes.
only about like 65, because I got, again, too distracted with the title of the book, because it was just bugging the living daylights out of me. And but so far, title. I can say that I was able to put in another character in the book that is actually a character from the Razio Chronicles.
Ooh. Well, if you're playing around with titles, you should drop it down in the chat. I'm sure people would love to give you feedback if you're trying to figure out a title that sounds good. Speedy, what about you? Did you get any words? Possibly, maybe. Let's see. For me, I got roughly like 270-ish. So not too much, but I got a couple. So I was like, I knew that one was not going to be one of my better writing sprints, but I'm all right with that. So let's see. How did we get from the community? So it looks like Megan got 500 words. Awesome. Only 205, but had to make a few revisions with Mary. Marta, I was also writing 425 words, but Polish words are longer. So Marta, you're saying that your word count should be 1.5. I was like, hey, you know what? Anybody who can write in more than one language, my hat is off to you. I can barely master the English language, let alone the other languages of the world. And especially if we're writing languages for our own story, like that's a whole nother thing. Maybe I want to write a language that's just for dragons. That'd be cool, just for the heck of it. Why not? Let's
Skyrim
see.
did that.
What was that?
Skyrim had done that.
Oh, did they create a language just for dragons?
Yeah.
Yes.
No, that's kind of cool. I mean, Skyrim's a huge game. It is a pretty huge game. Is it a good language in it?
It is a very good language, and there's actually an artist out there called Maluka who actually sings in it. And it is just awesome.
So you think with I mean, Skyrim is obviously a AAA title. So would you say that they probably hired a language specialist to probably create the language then, would be my guess. Usually, like if people can invest money, you pay somebody who actually understands linguistics and is actually able to design it from the ground up. I think that would be the way to go about it. Although I think Atomic got us all beat. Atomic said they got 3 words.
Woo! 3 is my favorite number.
I have Atomic beat.
Oh, okay. How many did you get today, Speedy?
In total, I have 740.
Woo! Wow, you're like beating us all today. Welcome to the club. This might be one of the first times that I think, Soul, your crown's been taken.
Yeah.
I think this might be one of the first times. Speedy, you deserve a congratulations for that.
Yes.
Sorry, not sorry.
Yes. Finally.
We never thought this day would come.
Thank you for saving us all. Chosen
She's
one.
looking at me like I'm gonna kill him.
Thank you. Thank you.
But you know what? It's always a great thing, right? Always in friendly competition, because our goal at the end of the day is we want to get more words out. Now, of course, the quantity isn't always as important as the quality. And we also recognize we're all at different stages of the process. So we are all at different stages. So then the question is like, how do you quantify the quality of, if I'm brainstorming like crazy for you, like the concept for a title or something that's for a character, which is just as important as getting in the words for a chapter, right? So I think it's always clarifying we're at different stages of the process, but I always enjoy a little friendly competition. So fun times. So as I've been thinking about writing and as I've been thinking about writing stuff, and I was thinking about something what to chat about next, I'm kind of curious, are there any, and actually I had a good comment earlier, I should have saved it, but are there any specific like areas of writing that you guys have really been struggling with lately? Whether less like about the story individual, but just like writing as a whole. I'd love to hear ideas and feedback from other writers here.
I'm actually.
Well, it
this
sounds
is
like everyone
not
wants me to go
usually.
first, so I will go.
What
Sorry,
was
Soul.
that?
Go ahead, Soul.
I know lately this is not usually an issue for me, but for some reason I'm having a problem with a story that I'm trying to write. I have an idea for I have like a general idea for a plot.
Okay.
But for once I actually can't get anything like overly specific. And it's really weird because usually I don't have this much of an issue.
You've been struggling with plotting. So usually plotting is good, but this time the plotting's just, is it like you're trying to figure out like what's like the next plot point?
So, I mean,
that should make sense.
I have a general idea of what is going on in the story. The title of the book is called Gods Don't Bleed.
Oh, that's a cool title, by the way. It's a great title.
I mean, the whole idea revolves around the world of the spirits, and the spirits are fading. Like they fade over time, but lately they've been getting like these I guess you could call them metaphysical scars.
Okay.
And it appears like they're bleeding, but their spirits are not supposed to bleed. And so the main character goes on this journey to figure out why and maybe even how to stop it, and ends up partnering up with a human who potentially might even become a spirit themselves because they end up spending so much time with like the all spirits and everything. But I not been able to think of an ending, can't think of many specifics.
You know, actually somebody else mentioned, I think it was John, I believe, mentioned that he was struggling with endings as well. Is it difficult for you guys to do like come up with endings for your stories? Or is it maybe like specific on certain stories? With me, when I think about endings or sometimes beginnings, if you're working from the other way around, I'm so used to outlining everything and coming up with like, okay, this is the clear strategy. But when I think about a character journey, I always ask myself, like, a character starts in one place, so then the ending should just be the exact opposite reflection of where they started. So like to me, like an ending almost feels like it has to be like there's like a certain ending that makes sense for the character based on whatever the character's emotional journey is or whatever the main conflict is. Now, a lot of times when we work in series, you're basically spreading that out over multiple books. So then it's trying to figure out like, okay, well, for this book, where is the standalone point in the overall hero's journey? Yeah. Yeah, I think when I think about my book, when I think about Last Scarecrow, and I knew that if I started off with a character blank slate character waking up in a world with very, very little memories, then the ending point has to be the character having all the memories, and as a result of the memories affecting the state of the world and or the antagonist in some way, shape, or form. So I was like, I knew there was always going to be that blank slate has everything and does something good or bad, depending on the ending of it. But I'd love to hear from you guys. How do you guys go about figuring out your endings?
I'd say the same thing.
What was that?
I was going to say the same thing, what you were just saying. I was going to say that about mine, and with my memoir.
Mm-hmm.
I am just now at the hard part of the part of the story that I really want to get out and get told, and it's bringing up, like I said, it's bringing up some things, but I think it's more of like a healing taking place than it is harmful in a way, because of, again, I won't go into it on camera, but on live, but
sounds like it's trying to like explore like the emotional journey.
We all have stories. Yes, we all, and what I'm trying to convey through my story is that we all have a story, no matter what the story is, and that one person in their story is not alone, because there's always someone else who has been through what they've been through, regardless of what that thing, and I'm quoting it for a reason, is.
I think that comes up to the challenge of us, right? The challenge of us as writers of like, all right, so like, how can we convey our unique perspective of the world based off our experience in a way that other people who've maybe identify with the same background, or maybe they might not, but they might want to learn more. How can we do it in a way that feels authentic?
Right. And that's one way that's one thing I'm trying to think of, because I don't want to come off as like some, big macho jerk or something, but I also don't want to sit here and be writing it and have it be full of crap that's just not true.
Well, I think regardless of the end result of this current draft, I think whatever you're writing, there's obviously going to be a lot of truth to it, right? So I think that you'll find more authenticity by just writing and seeing what comes, as compared to editing and being like, okay, well, I'm worried of it coming across this way, because the truth is, wherever the draft ends, it's going to go through how many more drafts. And then if you get it edited by somebody, if you get it like with beta readers, it's a lot of times the rough draft looks way different from the final manuscript.
Right.
But it's so easy to get lost in like the minutia. And this happens to so many writers. So many writers. And like, if you're here in the live stream right now, drop a comment if this has ever happened to you. If you're working on the rough draft, and while you're working on it, you start thinking of like, okay, well, I'm afraid that it's going to come across this way, or I'm afraid that it's going to be perceived this way. And then it ends up kind of adjusting or changing your writing process, or you end up just stopping and hopping another story. I'm curious if that's ever happened to anybody else, because I see it happen on socials to writers all the time.
Yes. All the above. All the above. Especially with this memoir.
Especially with this one. Yeah, that used to happen to me a lot when I was doing a lot of storytelling throughout my post-college years. Absolutely.
When I first started it, I found myself writing 200-300 words, scrapping it because I didn't like the way it was put. And I did that. I've done that for over 3 months now.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm finally at the point to where I feel like I need to just grow up, putting it in clean terms here,
Mm-hmm.
and grow up and get it out. And what the first draft ends up being is what it ends up being. It will
Mm-hmm.
end up obviously being something different later. But I worry too much on a lot of
I think
things.
I think we all worry too much. I think that's actually very, very common, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is. I don't think you can be a writer without
my
worrying
worry
about
is
how
it's
to be
going to come
perceived.
across as right. But my thing is, I don't want to come across as a butthole,
Mm-hmm.
even though I am kind of being one, in a way. But I'm finding that it's very therapeutic. Like I've let go of a lot over the last several
Mm-hmm.
years, and especially since
Mm-hmm.
I think I told you, Coffin, my mother passed away, didn't I?
Mm-hmm. You done. You did share that. And I could only imagine the emotional experience and dealing with that at a different age. I mean, obviously it's something we'll all deal with eventually, but still like that's tough. Any type of loss is tough to deal with.
Yeah. And that's one of the parts that's going to be in the book,
Mm-hmm.
or in the manuscript book, whatever it ends up being. If I
Mm-hmm.
even get it published on KDP or not, I don't know yet. That's going to be one of the parts that's in the book, and it's actually kind of traumatizing.
Mm-hmm. Through writing it.
Because yes, because it's bringing back the memories of what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And how things fell the way they did.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I've not gotten over losing her.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, she bought me a guitar before she passed away, which I didn't know
Mm-hmm.
until about 3 weeks after she passed.
Mm-hmm.
And it came in, and my uncle brought it to me. And of course, I got all ugly, cried, whatever. And I wanted to write a song in her memory because I felt like if she gave me one last thing before her death, that was
Mm-hmm.
to do something to honor her.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been trying to work on a song for like 4 years now,
Mm-hmm.
and I cannot get it finished. Like every time I start it, like I'm even starting to cry just talking about it.
Yeah.
But I can't bring myself to finish it. Every time I sit down to try to finish it, it's like, God, I can't do this. You know that initial reaction, like when you find out someone has passed away, and you're like, "Oh God, I don't think I can do this."
Yeah.
And then
I think that
you have to get,
yeah.
you have to go.
And I think for anyone who's experienced a type of loss, anybody who's lost somebody like that has definitely experienced that. I know I have with certain family members. It's I think what it does is it's absolutely traumatizing, especially the closer we are to them. And I think it's a reminder of the human experience and that life is short.
Mm-hmm.
And while I can't speak to anybody else's experience outside of my own, I think when I think about the shortness of life, for me, it motivates me personally to keep writing and telling my stories, because for all I know, I could live for a week, I could live for 50 more years. I don't know. But regardless of that time, what I'm going to do with it is just keep writing as much as possible. And because like that's the thing that I genuinely love, and trying to minimize regret along the way and learning from those who have affected my life and who are no longer with us. So,
Yeah.
but BR, I definitely want to say like thank you so much for sharing. I really appreciate that. I really do, because
Yeah, I didn't mean to turn this into a venting session. I'm sorry.
It's all right. It's all right.
You're good, man.
Part of writing can be therapy a lot of times. It really can be. And I'm curious for the rest of you guys. Have you guys written as a form of therapy before? I know. So you said earlier that you do a mix, but have you guys used it like just to like be therapeutic?
I think the ending of Pirates was entirely therapeutic, to be honest. I mean, most of the story, most of the first book, and I actually think a fair amount of the second, it is definitely a mix, but the ending of the ending of the first book, yeah, I mean, it's based off my dad dying, and it's not exactly what happened, of course, but it is loosely based off that in a way. So yeah, it was entirely therapeutic. Crazy will know what I'm talking about.
Okay, so let me ask you a question, Soul, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Sorry, Kaufman.
Okay, go for it.
So, in what you just said, what I got out of it was, you put in bits of what happened, but you tried not to put like all the details, all the details in there. Which I think is, a good thing, because, not everybody needs to know everything about everybody. I mean, I'm not trying to be offensive saying that, but that's true. But in my case, knowing what you guys now know, and I want opinions from all of you, knowing what you guys now know, and even those of you in the chat if you want to jump in, but knowing now what you guys know about me and my mother's sudden, unexpected passing, how would you go about writing, if you were doing a memoir, how would you go about, writing something like that is as traumatic as it is, but find a way to heal from it as well, besides just writing it out?
I find that a very difficult thing to answer. My other writing group, that's actually what one of my friends last night actually read to us. Ugh, if I can speak, is she wrote her chapter that she read was about when her mom died, and she focused on the kind of person her mom was, not per se just what happened, but her life just before that moment, and kind of like a reminiscing sort of.
Yeah.
That's how she had written it.
Yeah. That actually is a good idea. Because just sitting here trying to think of a way to write that later in the book, I'm thinking, how can I write that and get through that? Like, I'm having trouble with getting through this part I'm writing now, without turning into a bucket of tears.
And I know here in the chat, it looks like you're in the chat. We have a couple really great comments. I know Mary said, I would not jump into too much right off. Give yourself time. Atomic said, have you already journaled about it just for yourself before trying to write for others? And I think Atomic is probably going along the lines of what I would actually say is I think when we write from trauma, and regardless of what the trauma is, I think you also have to you can use it as therapy, absolutely, but you also have to be ready to deal with it. You have to be ready to unpack it. And for some people, that can be immediately after a traumatic event. Other people, it takes a lifetime. And I think you yourself have to be in a place mentally where you're able to unpack it. I am a huge proponent of therapy. I'm therapy for the entire world of exploring mental health. But I am of the mindset that regardless of what you do, that when you're ready to explore the feelings and explore the emotions, that you can write about it and experiencing it without writing it about it and pulling yourself down into the depths of into just the depths of it. You can feel it and embrace it and experience it, but not feel it, embrace it, and fall victim to it.
Yeah,
and everyone does it
kinda have to
differently.
agree with that.
And that's
Everyone does it differently, and I think if you're
that's
writing
kind of
for
what I'm
others,
doing with this art. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, I was just saying, yeah, and especially if you're writing for others, and this borders what Atomic was saying. If you're writing for others, if you're ready to write about it, great. But if you're still like at a point where like, hey, it might be dealing with like the traumatic side of it, like it might not be a bad thing to just like write it and be like, hey, this is gonna just be for me for now. You can always change it later, but I think giving yourself that freedom to just explore, because then you don't have the fear of how it's going to be perceived, especially if you're still like experiencing the trauma.
It's funny that you say that, because I'm looking at right behind my computer in my floor is a stack that I have yet to burn, 202 pages of 24 years of emotion from trauma. I'll just say it. I'll just say trauma. 24 years of emotion built up from trauma that I have yet to burn, because I've held on to it for so long. And it's like, I've even told my therapist this. It's like wearing an ugly sweater. It's comfortable. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I actually totally understand that. That's a very apt way of putting it. That's a very, very apt way of putting it. And I actually want to throw up that borders Courtney's comment.
In it, you just don't want.
I just wanted to border Courtney's comment. Courtney was
off.
saying that sometimes less is more when it comes to difficult topics in terms of describing. And I think your sweater comment is so on point. It really is. Like, I love that.
Yeah. And that's actually a quote from one of the quotes from my therapist was about the ugly sweater. And I thought, wait a minute, what is she talking? At first, I'm like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? And I'm thinking, this chick is nuts. And then I started thinking about it, and I thought, like seriously thinking about it in regards to, what I've been through and everything, and not just with my mother's passing, but with other stuff. And I can see how somebody can get comfortable wearing something and not want to take it off.
Yeah, because it's a safety blanket.
I don't know if that makes sense.
It absolutely does, because we all need a certain level of comfort in our life, regardless of what we consider comfort is. I think there's I read it somewhere. I think there's 10 there's like 10 needs that there's 10 different types of needs that the human experience craves. And we need at least like 3 to 4 of them or something. There's like the need for shelter, need for food, need for companionship, or need for connection. And there's like a whole list, and you can understand where you're at in the spectrum by understanding what your needs are. For anyone who wants to know more, I think it's like the 10 emotional, or the 10 needs of It's like the 10 needs of being a human. I was like, been a while since I've read that article, but yeah. So I just wanted to say like that this is definitely a very, very powerful topic, and it's definitely very, very moving because it's not an easy thing to talk about, but it's something that most, if not every writer deals with at some stage in their life. Anybody who is a writer, if they are human, we're assuming everyone's humans. So assuming we're all humans, we all deal with trauma and we all deal with loss.
They're not
Maybe
one
except
bot here,
Crazy up
but
here.
we'll not discuss that.
Crazy's a robot over here. So
I did that for you, Crazy.
So and like I know like when I suffered not when I suffered but when I experienced the first loss of my life of a grandparent, the way that I explored it was through writing. I think writing's powerful. I think it can be therapeutic to write something and then burn it. I think of course like safe setting, like don't light your house on fire, don't start any forest fires. But I think the physical act of write it down, burn it, and watching it burn, I think there's like a therapeutic aspect to it. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And I know in the chats, Mary was saying, when you are ready, let it go. We need comfort until we are ready. And Marta, that's interesting. You said, do you think men feel less than women? Absolutely not. I think people feel the same regardless. But I think there's a lot of social conventions. There's a lot of social preconceptions around how men are supposed to act and how women are supposed to act.
Yeah.
We're in a different age now than where it was at 50 years ago, and I'm so grateful. But it's still there. It's still there. There's still a lot of areas in the world where, and especially with a lot of different cultures, where men showing emotions is considered a bad thing because you're considered less of a man. Mm-hmm. That still exists. It's prevalent in certain areas of the world still, which is why the only thing that we can do is just be open with ourselves and then just help with the conversation as we continue to hopefully evolve as a society. That's my hope. Evolve as a society.
Yeah.
So on that note, that was a very powerful topic. Let's use that emotion. Let's use this emotional experience and channel it into our next writing sprint. So I'm going to queue up another writing sprint. Let's hop into it. And yeah. So because we're on time right now, I'm going to throw up another 20-minute writing sprint. We got here, I'll throw up some more music and let's see what we can write. So whether you're brainstorming, writing, or editing, that's all part of it. So I got 20 minutes on the clock. Let me see if the timer's ready, and it's time. We'll wait for it. 20 minutes on the clock, and it's time to write now. All right, writing sprint done. Writing sprint done, and we are back. Welcome back, everyone. I hope that writing sprint treated you well. I hope we were able to get some writing in there. Hopefully, getting a little bit in. I wasn't all too successful on that one, but that's all right. I will have to make up for it on tomorrow's stream. Did you guys get any progress that time?
Yes.
Not really.
Yes, I'm about to break 1K words.
Ooh,
Yeah, there's
nice.
finally somebody that can beat me.
Nice. I love it. So I
Finally.
love that we got a little competition now. I love it.
Oh, it finally feels so good.
Oh, you're just funny.
But I'm glad that we were able to get some good words in on that sprint. I hope we were able to also get some good brainstorming, some good ideas. ML, you got 125. Nice. You got more than I did that time. I didn't get too much. I'm like about to hit the road for a trip, so I'm half in, half out the door. As much as I wish I was actually writing, I have way too much work to do with Last Scarecrow. But I feel like I got some really great work done, and it sounds like you guys might have gotten some varying degrees. We've gotten some great words in. I think as we, let's see, Mary is a little bit better, 235, but we'll probably edit to less. Awesome. So I think today has been a really phenomenal meeting. I think not only have we covered a lot of different writing topics, we were able to explore a little bit more with journaling, trauma, and dealing with some more difficult topics as writers, which are very powerful things that we should talk about. So I want to thank you guys for being here with me today. As we're approaching the 2-hour mark, we're reaching the end of our 13th session of the WriteNow Writers Group. I appreciate you guys. It's been awesome. Many, many more to come. We'll hit 100 eventually. So,
We can do it.
We can do it. I love it. BR or Speedy. I can't decide which one I like more, but I appreciate you. Thanks
like
for
Speedy.
joining us today.
Do what? Are you talking to me?
Yeah, I was just saying thanks for joining us today. And
Somebody
same
talking to me
goes
just now?
out. Mhm.
Oh,
Totally no worries. I just wanted to thank you guys for coming. ML, I'm glad that you came back and you joined us again, bringing the expertise. As always, Chat Soul, you're bringing up the gold star with me. We've made all 13 meetings today. We've made all 13 meetings. I'm like, yes, sass. So, but many more to come. Crazy. Glad to have you along for the ride. It's been great.
No problem.
If you've been here in the stream, we appreciate you. But friends, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm going to close out the stream, and it's been a blast. So thank you all for joining in the live stream today, whether you were dropping a comment or just being a part of the conversation. It has been phenomenal. Thank you for hopping over to the Discord. I saw some of you guys joining in. It was an absolutely great experience. And like I said, if you don't want to keep the fun from stopping and you want to keep chatting with writers, hop in the Discord. It's awesome. I'll be back tomorrow with another casual writing sprint. We'll be doing our early morning one I guess afternoon. I'll be here 11 a.m. Pacific, 11, 12, 1, 2 p.m. Eastern. As tomorrow, I will be making work on Last Scarecrow. Trust me, I gotta make progress if I want to publish it by early next year. So thank you all for joining today. And that brings us to the end of the stream. Don't forget, words are wind, but stories are forever. I'm Kaufman, and I'll catch you on the morrow. Stay creative, writers. We'll catch you on next WriteNow Writers Group meeting next Wednesday.